practice. We were looking at the four heavenly abodes, the four limitless ones. What other words, as you were thinking about this quality? These are qualities of bodhicitta, qualities of the heart mind. Were there any other words that came to mind for anyone that seemed meaningful, relevant, true? Limitless, boundless, vast, open, unlimited. Anybody? Couldn't hear that. Could anybody hear that? What was the word again? Could somebody say it? Maybe it wasn't for us. So we're going to now, this week, we're going to work on loving kindness. Loving kindness is understood to be a quality of goodwill. A quality of goodwill. And the teachings say, if you are ever not in that open-heartedness or in that quality of goodwill, that is some fear, some pain in you in its arising, whenever it happens. Now that's interesting for me, because I often feel that my upset, my contraction, my shutdown is highly, what's the word? Right practice. It makes sense to me. I'm somewhat righteous. I get to say this because you said that. I can make sense out of it. I can rationalize it. I can go, if only you, then I could be better. It's never true. I'm going to say this out loud, mostly for me. It is never true, because our aggression, our contraction, our shutdown, our hostility is never helpful, ever, under any circumstances. Even when you think this time, and you're going to think it, this time, that made sense, because they're so deficient, and guess what we also know? The extent to which you feel deficient is the extent to which you put it on others. Uh-oh. That's not so great, because then I got a lot of deficiency. I feel deficient. I must, because it's projected. Otherwise, the only thing that can happen, says the teachings, is that you recognize pain. You recognize fear. You recognize it because you have seen it in yourself. And you know that the only thing to improve that, right, ever, is love. We don't use the word love. I do, because I mean that in its broadest context. I do not mean romantic love. I do not mean conditional love. I do not mean love where we get something in return. I mean the love that we offer because of our humanness, simply, and our recognition that we're all in the soup together. That by itself is the love I mean. In the teachings, they frequently call it things like Maitri. Maitri is a Sanskrit, word. Maitri then means, let's think of it this way, all goodness and all of its derivatives. Everything that came to make goodwill possible, to make contentment, to make brotherhood, sisterhood, community, sangha possible. That's the definition of Maitri, all goodness and its derivatives. We don't even just mean those four big things. We also mean appreciation. So today, when you walk out and make contact with the flowers or the smell or the sky or the loved one or your beloved pet or right? You touch the fur, wow, that appreciation is at the base. Now, then what we could say, I think, and then we'll practice before we go on, what we could say is hatred, violence, hostility, contractedness is some lack then of appreciation, some lack of gratitude, some lack of understanding the essential goodness of that person, because in the moment, they're probably being a dope. And they're at least being a dope in your mind. I'm laughing at Libby because she gets mad at people who put wrong collars on the dogs because she has a strong felt sense for the dog. And now the work is, how do you have a strong felt sense for the person who put it on? Uh-oh, this is the trick. How do you have the felt sense for the person who just blamed you, for the person who said you're wrong, for the person who said you don't have a right to that feeling or that experience, for the person, and what's really happening there for them? I actually know, because it's exactly the same one that I do, isn't it? It's the same fear that somebody's going to take something essential away from me. That's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Because could anyone really? And the answer is no. But we get caught, don't we, in the, wait a minute, that's my experience, that's my feeling, that's my reality. This is what I know to be right. We get locked up there quite often. And in the face of this, you will notice that my tree can often be difficult to contact. But we're going to practice, not today, we'll touch it a little with someone who you typically find somewhat difficult, just to say, can I remember the Buddha nature in them? Can I remember the goodness in them? Of course we can, if we have any whole relationship at all. We cannot pick, however, then, just so we're saying it before the practice, the most difficult relationship. It's not wise. Why? It may be a perpetrated relationship. It may be a relationship where none of the goodness of the other is seeable from your experience because of harms that were caused. We do not pick these people to begin. Do I know? No. Cognize that it's true that there is even goodness in them, that they too want to be happy. They too. I do. Do I think it's right beginning? I do not. So we will not pick that. We will pick someone, a mild irritator. And of course, for most of us, we live with one, right? Whether it's the partner, the children, the parents, the whoever it might. So we're going to begin by practicing. I want to pull up the share screen because I would like someone to read the Bodhisattva prayer. Pop it up here for us. Let's see if I can do this. I always have trouble getting down to the share screen. This thing is crazy. I don't know if you can see that. Can everyone see the gate up there? I just had it. Can you see it? I'm having.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You can see it now. Is anybody on who would like to read the daily aspiration? Let me try to move it up. Anybody there? No, huh? I'm going to ask one more time. Anybody? Otherwise, I will simply read it. I can
I'll
read
read it, Diana.
And whoever that is, it sounds like a female. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, here we go. May I become at all times, both now and forever, a protector for those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a bridge for those with rivers to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and a benefactor and a servant to all in need.
Just breathing into the heart space, feeling the felt effect. A lamp in the darkness. Recognizing our own Buddha nature will help us as we open to the Buddha nature in others. We're not ringing the bell this morning again, as we will rest. I close my eyes for the aspiration prayer so I can feel into the heart space. If that you're making contact with that felt sense, that vibrational, energetic felt sense of bodhicitta, and you just want to rest in that for a few moments, feel free to keep the eyes closed or lowered. See which of those words were inspiring for you. And then at some point, I'd like you to open your eyes gently in that softened gaze, but I want you to stay in contact with the felt sense. We're breathing the heart of bodhicitta into that vast open space and inviting that vast open sense into the bodhicitta heart. They are one and the same. Not separate. We're going to rest in the heart of bodhicitta then for several minutes as we establish that open, expanded, vast, infinite, boundless, limitless heart. we're feeling for that sense of open space, the sense of no boundary, no limit, and no separation. Hmm, that's an interesting piece, isn't it? That actually means that there is no separate objects in existence. No separate other. There are two beautiful poets, David White and Rilke, who speak to this non separation. It just came to Heart Mind. And David White says, all things wait for me. This cup with its handle waiting for my finger. This bell sitting on the table waiting for the striker and for me to strike it. All things interconnected, interdependent, interbeing. This Sangha requiring you. And how do you know the truth of this? How do you feel that in your bones? We might say then, every moment waiting for you. we might call this relative bodhicitta. How do we live this moment then with the heart of bodhicitta, with this awakened heart mind, with this goodwill and maitri? And we begin by softening our own bodies, softening our own bodies on the path to dissolving the barrier, dissolving the delusion of separateness. Melting the armor of our own self-cherishing, our own self-centeredness, so that we can feel, sense, see, know the truth, the Dharma of interconnectedness, even with this cup. Even with this open space that I can then, this consciousness then can fill with goodwill and love. And so sometimes the question is, well, how do you do that? Well, the same as the instructions, they are intentioned for this. You place the mind in the open space. We make contact with the felt sense, both in the space and in your own body. We recollect the heart of bodhicitta. And then on the medium of the breath and one's attention, we open. And then we stay. as David White relates to the relative bodhicitta, the bodhicitta just now with the cup, the bell, the seat, the body. This being Rilke takes another approach, and I also love the ultimate bodhicitta. Rilke says this, he says, God, 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 who would you be without me? We are interconnected, interbeing, inter are. Like a pitcher without water. And so we remember our own Buddha nature. We breathe it in, we release it. In the formal practice of loving kindness or metta, Maitri, again being the Sanskrit word, metta being the Pali word, you might hear any of those. The truth is, we rest in the vast open space to get the sense of our own being, the sense of the being of all things. We then can touch on objects, we remember and recognize, not separate. We use objects in the room, we use objects in the eye door, um, so that we can create that sense of spaciousness, even with the reality of objects. Just in seeing. We breathe that space into our own hearts, inviting that opening, that spaciousness. The same room. We're letting the mind take the shape of that very boundlessness. No limit. And we could begin even this simply. We could just, with eyes open now, just noticing objects in the open space. You don't have to look too far. And feeling some gratitude, some appreciation for them. Feeling the reality that others, to other beings, made this for your happiness. The rug, the table, the cup, the bell, the computer. Can we recollect both their goodness, their work, their effort, their skill, and they're sharing that with you, that essential goodness. They didn't keep it. And then your appreciation, your sense of goodwill, your joy, your gratitude, whatever arises, and the interconnection of all of that. We could offer Maitri, loving kindness, appreciation, or gratitude for any one of those things. And I'm going to pick an object. I'd like you to do the same. I'm picking the handmade cup that I got in Rhinebeck, New York at PEMA. It was actually at the PEMA conference in Omega. We were at an art festival there, Allie and I got to speak to the artist of this cup, who was a delightful individual who got so much joy. Her own Bodhi heart was so in evidence as she was talking about the making of this cup. I can feel her goodness, and I can feel the appreciation for her. We can then offer her, whoever that is for you, the object itself. It's never attached, independent, remember, of beings. We can offer a phrase, a message, a word, an image, and a gesture. They all matter. I'm simply going to offer, may you be well. May you be happy. Calling this other to mind. And remember, if it's not an other, it might be an object attached to another that you do not know. And feel into the heart of that Maitri. What are its qualities? This tender, open, vulnerable human heart, mine and hers, not separate. So we can breathe directly into the heart space. See if we can get a felt sense of this goodwill, this appreciation, this gratitude, this goodness. Touch into it and then let the whole softened body vibrate. We can continue to recite the phrase. We could continue to apply the goodwill in whatever way we have chosen. And then feel the effects. Feel it in the heart and then beyond the heart, in the whole body. In the 7 categories of the loving kindness or metta practice, frequently we begin with a benefactor, as we did in the benefactor of an item, or we could begin with a loved one. And actually, the teaching says first and foremost to begin with oneself. And we happen to know that in our culture, this is very, very difficult. We often are critical, judgmental, see the negative, see the deficiencies in ourselves. And the work here is to see if we can take that felt sense and invite it into our own body being for ourselves. Can I recollect a moment of kindness, of goodness, of goodwill? And can I feel this appreciation, this gratitude, this love or kindness for myself? Breathe in. Let it touch your own heart, body, being. Remembering your goodness. May have been an act, an offer. Maybe it was a blessing, something that you wished for another. Maybe it was just the offering you made to that person or that object. Let the whole heart expand in that goodness. Remembering that this is who you really are. This is your true, unabridged version. And feel it in the whole body. Feel the effects of offering this goodwill, this love, this gratitude to yourself. And let it permeate the whole body. I imagine kind of light or honey or cream or something delicious permeating the whole body. And in contact with our own goodness, we offer ourselves the phrase of loving kindness. This phrase has to be something that has meaning, a felt sense for you. The traditional phrase, may I have happiness and the causes of happiness. I trust my goodness. And keep offering. I use the breath again, breathing it in, letting it, I immerse myself, let it permeate the whole mind, body, being. In our Tonglen practice to come, we could imagine that white light or a cloud like substance just moving into the whole body, mind, heart. Maybe it's a warm, maybe it's a space, maybe it's a cozy blanket. May I have happiness and the causes for happiness. May I offer this to myself, remembering my own Bodhi art. In the traditional categories, we would go next to then a loved one, and then a friend or acquaintance, and then a neutral other, and then to one with whom we have difficulty or challenge. These are all expanding heart practices. Today, we're just going to suggest one other with whom you have just a slight irritation. Could be a loved one, could meet any of the other criterion. Calling them to mind, making space and room in your own heart mind. Breathing them in. For some people, it's better to place them out and in front of you. See which works for you. I breathe them into a space in my own heart. And for others, having them be in front of us works better. Doesn't matter. Making contact with them and their Bodhi heart. Whatever the moment of difficulty, can we also recollect this person too wants to be happy and well, be safe and have ease. And then making that offer to them, the phrase, may you be happy and have the causes for happiness. You may cover them in that light, in that love. You might invite them in to your own loving. And as an extension of our Tonglen practice to come, we can simply breathe in and breathe out that goodwill, that friendship, that friendliness, that love, that kindness. Breathing it in, breathing it out, knowing that we, in fact, are a live manifestation of this Bodhi heart, of this goodness. Offering it to ourselves and offering it to another. May I be happy. May you be happy. And then we expand the heart one more time to include, at the minimum, us both. And if more capable, if the heart is more available, if we can feel the sense of spaciousness, we can include all other beings into this Bodhi heart of loving kindness, of compassion, of Maitri, of metta. We might call others individually to mind. We might call others by group, or we may just have, as I just did, a visual of all those beings walking in to that vast embrace of the Bodhi heart. Room for us all. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. Now, in this, may we all be happy. We might be able to sneak in an extra person with whom we have some difficulty, remembering their goodness, their Bodhi hearts, their Buddha nature as well. May I be happy. May you be happy. May we all be happy. Feel the sense of open space imbued with loving kindness, radiant with this energy of goodwill, of blessings, shining in all directions. inner and outer. Breathing it in and out. May I have happiness and the causes for happiness. May you have happiness and the causes for happiness. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. And may our practice today contribute. So here is my card. It's a dragonfly. I'm really looking forward to coloring that in maybe this weekend. And that's my slogan about this also, how to everything. And the other side is where I have my phrases. It was offered to us to recite those several times a day. I've been able to do that easily, even when I didn't bring the card. And this week, we're going to actually be focusing primarily on that first phrase, may we be happy. May you be happy. So, let's see, anything from last week or last week's practice that anybody wanted to say something about or question before we move on into chapter 7, specific to my tree. Anything for anybody there? So I'm going to see if I can't pull Kindle up here and grab our chapter 7. Chapter 7 was Wonderful. I'm going to move this for a second because I can't get it again. It's so tricky. I don't like to work with me. Let's see if we can find it. It'll take a moment to tends to die back. Unfortunately, here we go. So this is chapter 7, and chapter 7 is not very long. It was wonderful. We're going to be doing, by the way, chapter 8 and 9 next week. So read both. Chapter 8 on compassion, 9 on Tonglen. We're going to be beginning to work on the Tonglen practice next week. So this week is our week to focus on Maitri. And the first page says, peace between countries must rest on the solid foundation of love between individuals. And of course, we know this. We know that without us, without our own kindness, without our commitment to ourselves, to these practices, to making contact with the goodness in us and others, there is no hope. There is no hope, and it certainly could not be wise hope for the possibilities of peace and kindness in our world. And so we begin again and again and again and again, offering it to ourselves. The first line I thought was essential. She says, our personal attempts to live humanly in this world are never wasted. I thought, wow, I needed to hear that. Because often we use loving kindness as evidence for our failures, don't we? We go, well, there it was, didn't do it again. Well, there I did it again, couldn't got judgmental and reactive, said the wrong thing about that person, blah, blah. And really the reminder here is the very intention, the very effort is meaningful and never wasted, even when it doesn't get the result you want, even when it doesn't get the feeling you want, even when you forget. Never wasted. By virtue of the intention itself, it counts, it matters, it's good news. So we have to remember this, because I think we use loving kindness a lot as the evidence for our futility, evidence for our hopelessness, evidence for our pathetic nature. It's just not true. And what an opportunity to get to those moments and bring our own goodwill to ourselves. That would be incredible. And so here in the first paragraph, it says the root of aggression and suffering is itself ignorance. It is, in fact, not aggression. Aggression is not a standalone experience, as is suffering, the truth of suffering. It requires a quality of heart-mind. It requires a quality of heart-mind, and that quality is ignorance. I am not seeing clearly in this moment is a fact. Otherwise, aggressions, hostilities could not exist. I am not seeing clearly the reality of your humanness, of my humanness, of our interconnectedness and our essential need and kinship, it says here. What we ignore ultimately is our kinship with others, not only others, particularly what others we don't like. Except it's not true. Our kinship with them exists, and is as essential. And yeah, we all go, ugh, why? Once we recognize or remember interconnectedness, The truth is, it's much harder because that requires an opened heart mind. It's much harder to go into blaming or shaming or judgment because the interconnected reality, as it's understood in the trainings, opens us automatically. It's boundless. You can't stay tight in the reality of interconnectedness, not if you really know it. And so calling this to mind, it says, can sometimes be helpful. Remembering, wait a minute, I need this person, they need me, just like this cup needs me, just like Rilke's God, 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 who would you be without me? And it is true. That is the interconnectedness of all things. We cannot harm, then, another that we know is essential to our well-being, even when they're dramatically annoying, and vice versa. We are essential to their well-being. Oh, well, that's interesting, because even if I think I can't control what they're doing, I can certainly do something about what I'm doing, can't I? And what I can do is understand their humanness. I can. They aren't going to manifest it in exactly the same way at the same moment, or maybe they are, because often we are annoyed by the very things we do. We are projecting, we don't like it in us, we take that shadow and we fling it on the other. And it's a constant habit. So be watchful of it. If you have made the other solid, you are just like this, then you have also made yourself solid. I am like this. And that's a dangerous enterprise. One, because it's not true. Two, because you're freezing people in snapshot moments, right, that are also dramatically contracted and limited. So we want to be watchful. We're recollecting interconnectedness, interbeing. I need you, you need me. Oh, well, you're still not onto that yet because you still look snarly or growly or pissy or whatever you're doing. What can I offer to that? Sometimes, maybe nothing, but understanding. Yeah, I know, because I've done it too. And that may be your greatest act of Maitri this week. I know, right? I know I get judgmental too. I know I get blamey too. I know I get pissy too. I know. Maybe that's all you're going to say. What a radical act of kindness. I know. I don't listen either. Right? Now, that wouldn't be a classic phrase, but boy, wouldn't it be meaningful. I know, because I do it. If you see something you think you don't do, call me. 911. Call me, folks. You said, nope, not me. I don't, nope. Nope. My mother made a complaint. Here's a hilarious joke. So my mother makes a complaint about swearing. I don't like when people swear. I said, oh, I understand you're in a different time, maybe that, right? That probably take that. No, I just don't like it. I think and she uses words frequently from her 80-something life as unclassy. It's just not classy. Yeah, okay, I understand. So we're driving to Starbucks to get our favorite salted caramel cold brew. And what does my mother start screaming? Asshole! The people in line at the Starbucks, because she doesn't understand that the lines are long, right? And she starts screaming. I'm laughing so hard, I'm peeing in my pants. And I said, oh, I thought you had a thing about swearing. She goes, not when people are assholes. No, no, that one you get to do it. I said, Mom, they're actually just in line waiting for their coffee. They shouldn't be there. They should not be there. Or Starbucks should be faster. Or what could be the problem? There must be one because I'm having to wait. Now, this is nothing about my mother, is it? No. We're all laughing because what? And I have done this 100,000 million times. Can I feel, though, for myself? Can I feel for myself and go, I know I do it too. I've done it too. I felt it too. I've been confused too. I haven't liked waiting also. I didn't want the other people to be in front of me. Yes. Right. And then we remember that no one is different from ourselves. It didn't matter what word they said, did it at all. And this is what we use. But because they're different, no, it's not the same. We spend a lot of time, by the way, rationalizing, don't we? The reason we get to and the reason others don't get to. Give it up. Don't waste your time. A lot of time rationalizing because you, because they, because. So I get to, now I get to swear, right? Or I get to be impatient, or I get to be angry or hostile at you. We have to be watchful. So let's pay attention for that this week. Placing our fearful mind in the cradle of loving kindness. What do we know? This is exactly when we need it the most and exactly when we're going to do it the least. We need it the most when, right when I'm most tired, right when I'm most weary, right when I'm most agitated, right when I'm most contracted, right when I'm most fearful and most pained. When are we likely to do it the least? Right there. That's the rubber meets the road practice. Can you then set the intention? I'm going to offer it to myself no matter what. When I am really in the right, I am all the way down at the bottom of the barrel going, nope, there's no point. There's no point to saying it. I can't say it anyway. I know. I feel this too. We've all felt this, like there's no point, like we can't get there, like we're hopeless, like we're not worthy. We have all felt this. Can you remember, even here at the bottom of the barrel, can I offer loving kindness? If not the heart, because I think that takes a lot of practice, can you offer the phrase? And the answer is yes, you can. You can utter those words. That's why they're there. Find the words that are going to work for you. I'd like you to write them down, repeat them often, and then I want you to tell me what they are next week. What were the words that worked for you, no matter what, feeling it or not feeling it, that you're going to offer, beginning with yourself and then others? What is it? May I be happy. May I have relief. May I remember. I know is mine. I feel this too. We are a poignant mixture of something that isn't all that beautiful and yet is dearly loved. We are a poignant mixture of something that isn't all that beautiful and yet is dearly loved. On the ultimate bodhicitta side, we could all take argument with that phrase, couldn't we? We could say, no, the truth is we're beautiful in all moments, including the ones we are hateful, including the ones, if we can see, right? If we can see, because look at the beauty of that. I can see me in my judgmental, critical, condemning, fearful, pained, vulnerable human nature. And so then what? Where are we not in evidence of our vulnerable human nature? Where is it not in evidence? I just walked it down, didn't I? There's no place. There's no place where we are not revealing that humanness, that vulnerability. We train first to be honest, loving, and compassionate towards ourselves. I didn't do that because I know how difficult it can be. I asked you to get a felt sense of appreciation or gratitude or joy or love for something. Make contact with it in whatever way you can. If you cannot begin with yourself, and if you can, please begin there. And if you can't, truthfully, I don't care where you start. It's the same Bodhi heart. Doesn't matter. Open it up. Get it active. Get it online. It doesn't matter how you do it. But then always go to yourself. Once you've made contact with that heart, that Bodhi heart, I want you to offer it to yourself, even if the feeling isn't there, because Maitri is not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It isn't. It is available no matter the mind. This is its limitless nature. Isn't that remarkable? It's available always, even when I am my most hateful, most aggressive, most pathetic self. It is available right there. And we can employ it there. No matter how we feel, we can open Maitri. It is not based on a feeling. This is very difficult for some people. I wrote here, this will be part of our work. Can you imagine a quality of happiness, contentedness, joy, ease that is unconditional? Can you imagine it? Because it is true, in fact. What would this mean, and what would it take for you to make contact with that? That's one of the reflections this week. Can you imagine this? The truth of that statement, that's the Dharma, says, no, it's not based on a feeling at all. You can be in your most hateful moment, wake up, come to awareness and go, wait a minute, right now, I'm going to offer that phrase. I'm going to offer it to myself right now. What would it mean? What would it take to be that unconditional? Because you are capable of this, and this is the training for it. Without loving kindness for ourselves, it is difficult, if not impossible, to genuinely feel it for others. I know, everyone says this to me. No, I can feel it for Joe, but I can't feel it for me. Where did you get that then? Where did you get the feeling for Joe? It came from you. Can you feel that for you then? You'd have to, if you could offer it to Joe. That means I've got it. I've got to be able to make contact with that to give it to Joe. Can I know that about me? And the answer is you have to, because there it is. It's already in its full evidence. Do you have to feel good about it? No, but a good feeling is not required. We just read in the paragraph above. Not required to offer, to know at some much deeper level. We say here, we start with what's familiar. That's what I did. I picked something you feel appreciation or gratitude for. Finding the tenderness in the Bodhi heart is always a way of making contact. We can touch into gratitude or appreciation, it says, our current ability to feel goodwill. That's what we did today. We are always looking, not for that good feeling, that's a mistake, but for that soft, vulnerable, unguarded place of bodhicitta. It doesn't mean it feels good. Don't mistake it. It might feel shaky. As Chogyam said, that queasy tenderness is at the heart of bodhicitta. Be watchful, but it doesn't feel happy or good. And we have a very solid misunderstanding of those things. So you might be looking, in fact, for pleasantness. This is not the same as the heart of bodhicitta. There's something beneath the solidity of anger that feels very raw and sore. Can you make contact with that? I can. Really hurts, doesn't it? It actually hurts. It pinches, it's tight, it's contracted, it aches. That's the heart of bodhicitta. Why? You're feeling the truth of our human vulnerability. It is not necessarily rainbows and unicorns. Underneath the defensiveness is our own broken heart. Underneath that armor, unshielded quality of bodhicitta. Can we make contact with that achy tenderness, queasy tenderness? This is how we know we're in contact. Then we don't have to work so hard to get rid of it. The first step in cultivating loving kindness is to see when we are erecting barriers between ourselves and others. Didn't I just say that? I said, isn't it great news to feel the contractedness, to see the judgment, to see the them, they, not me, not like me arising in us? Yes, because this is the opportunity to feel back into the heart of bodhicitta, feeling for yourself and all those just like me who harden our hearts, just like this. And who, by the way, look the same in the hardening. We look the same. We look as disconnected. We look as disinterested. We look as uncaring. We look distracted, just like everybody when we are armored up. Is it the truth of who we are? Never. Hard to remember. Right? It's hard to remember. When we harden our hearts, there is no possibility of dissolving that armor unless we understand, she says, in a non-judgmental way, our own hardening. How in the world are we going to ever be able to feel for others? And that is correct. We have to know our own hardening, our own not caring, our own giving up, our own hopelessness, and our own capacity. This is the thing to remember, to see. Oh, there it is, me doing it. Can I offer something to myself right now? Can I drop down into the truth of my own vulnerability in this moment? All these relationships become aids. They're all teachers, as we've said before in the slogans, in uncovering our ability to feel and express love. She goes on to say, our idea of happiness is pretty well screwed up. We define happiness as pleasantness, getting what we want, getting what will affirm our ego. Be watchful is the point. It does not mean that this is true happiness. The happiness we're talking about is unconditional. Not the one that because I got that great piece of cake, it's a gorgeous day, somebody just told me how cute I am, or that they like my necklace. These are all conditional versions and are not sustainable, are not. Because just as much as somebody will tell you they liked it, somebody's going to tell you that they didn't. And now what? We have to be watchful here. We put the aspiration for happiness into our own words. I've asked you to do that. Let me go back here. There was a second reflection. I'll put this in the, what are the words of loving kindness that you can feel and that nourish you? What are the words that you can feel and that are nourishing to you? What words evoke the heart of bodhicitta? I've picked very simple, crazy words. I know are my words. I know, I feel this too. This anger, this disinterest. I'm not going to allow the separation that is required to go into aggression. It is required. I'm not going to allow it. I'm going to stop it there. Nope, I know. You just like me. I know. This anger, 2, this confusion, 2, this fed up, 2. What's going to be your words? We begin to trust in basic goodness, both our own and another's, by seeing each. By the way, by seeing each, I see the goodness in another. I can remember that. Hey, I'm capable of this also. Not only that, I can see it, which means I can appreciate it. I do have some sense of it because I just recognized it. Can I recognize that truth in myself as well? Not just the I know, I can be a screw up just like you. I know, can I see that goodness in you and know that that is also me and that I am capable also? These are both essentially important. We can't just move to the there you are in your vulnerability, but there you are in your goodness. There you are in your greatness. There you are in your Buddha nature. Can I remember this too? And that's the second instruction. Can we see each other in our vulnerability? Can we see each other in our true Buddha nature? Recognizing both and offering both Maitri. You get what I'm saying? Offering both Maitri. Gratitude, appreciation, kindness, care. Can I offer both? That's the expanding part of bodhicitta. The practice is about connecting with that soft spot. We've already talked about that. May we learn to be truly loving people. May we have enough to eat and a place to sleep where we will be safe and comfortable. These are all very basic phrases that we can offer. As Pema said, can I offer a good cup of coffee to someone who just shamed, blamed, judged, or condemned me? Can I offer that? Wouldn't that be amazing? We talked last Saturday about all beings being our mothers, and that is one of the realities of the Dharma, that we have all been, we are all each other, I guess would be another way to say that. Can't get out of it. I don't care who you like and who you don't like. Sorry, the truth is there. And can we weaken the barriers of separation, of reactivity, of disconnect between ourselves and ourselves, I will say. This side of me and that side of me, right there. And can we offer both loving kindness? We didn't practice with our heaviest, most complicated or pained relationships. That's not a good start because you will quit. You will feel failed in it because you will not be able to sustain that just yet, and that's okay. That's okay. Difficult relationships are ultimately our greatest practice. And we have the most to learn there. Without the ones who irritate us, we never have a chance to practice. I know everybody's thinking, I don't want to practice. I don't need to practice. And we're working on dissolving those barriers again. What words, what heart are you going to be using to make contact with that in you? What are you going to use, as Pema says, to loosen up the tightness of your own heart? Okay, any questions? That is chapter 7. We're going on now to 8 and 9. 8 and 9. Any questions before we do our dedication? Good, let me look at chat here quickly. You like me. Isn't it true, Greg? I say that a lot. I've decided to move into, I know, because I do. I know. Be a warrior for ourselves, to open our heart to ourselves and our closed places. Yes, love the whole thing, the closedness as well. Greg is saying, can we love the closeness as well? Guess what? If we can love the closeness in others, we can remember the closeness in ourselves, because guess who saw the closeness in the other? the closedness in you, right? Otherwise, you'd see the pain. Otherwise, you'd see the fear and you'd only be compassionate. You go, oh my God, right? So to see the whatever in the other means you're already there. You have to be, or that's not what you would be picking up. You'd be picking up, oh my, the pain in you is igniting the compassion in me. We have to be hateful in our own hearts. Now, by the way, I don't judge that. I know what that really is in me too. I know what it is in me too. It is my own fear, my own pain, and my own wounds. Isn't it true? All right, folks, let's sit together for just a moment, gathering ourselves once again, coming into the Bodhi heart, feeling for ourselves in our humanness, in our confusion, in our vulnerability, immersing ourselves in that heart of loving kindness. May I be happy. And then naturally expanding the heart beyond oneself in the absolute Dharma of the truth of we are all from each other, of each other. We have all been each other's mother, children, partners, parents, and are. Can we feel for all those others just like me? Who feel this too? May they be happy. May you be happy. May we all have happiness and the causes of happiness. And may our practice this very day, may it contribute. May it grow and flourish evermore.